Hi there.
Hello there. How you,
Finally.
how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. Thank you.
Great.
You're in Austin, right?
I am.
Yeah. I've actually always been a Longhorn fan, I promise you. Uh,
Oh, good for you. Hook 'em
yeah,
horns.
yeah, hook 'em horns. Always have liked them.
That's awesome.
Um, I guess we're going to go ahead and get started here, Rue. So let me go ahead. I like to make sure that I start on time, and so we are recording right now, and appreciate everybody showing up. Let's see here. So this is number four. This is number four. And if you don't, make sure that you're muted your audio right now. Every once in a while, I have somebody who's on a phone or something like that. So I hope that you decide that you all want to show up every Wednesday, or at least register for every Wednesday of each month. And the next time is May 3rd. It's hard to believe May's almost here. But so keep your eye out for that next LinkedIn event on May 3rd. So I guess I have some more people here. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And as most of you have already heard this, because a lot of you are coming back a few times, I'm the co-owner of the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui with my partner, Lisa Albin. And I'm also the owner of the Feng Shui School for Real Estate. And I've been all over the country being able to speak on my favorite subject, which is Feng Shui, and especially Feng Shui in real estate. So a lot of state associations hire me. I'm a red ribbon Feng Shui master of over 19 years now. Boy. And I've been the author of 3 books on that subject. And I was featured on PBS at one time or another. Okay, so that's about me. So Feng Shui tips. We're going to do this tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do understanding the Yin Yang theory and how to use it. You might pronounce that word Yang, that's fine, but a lot of folks pronounce it Yang. So the definition of Yin Yang, I like to give definitions. So it's the two complementary forces that make up all aspects and phenomena of life. Some of you are probably thinking of it, they're complete opposites. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of truth to that. But they also try to get along. But think of it as complementary forces. So why are we going to talk about something called yin yang? Well, let's face it, you, I, your friends, your family, we're always looking for a balance in our life or in our environment also. We're always looking for that balance. And when we don't have it, we actually do feel it. It's not quite right. And so that and harmony of a space can be really sort of messed up. And you're going to feel it if you don't have that kind of feeling. So, as we get into all of this kind of stuff, you'll find out we're trying to make sure that a person walks into any environment and feels good and feels welcome and feels comfortable. We're going to talk about something that maybe you remember from your high school days or whatever, ratios. We're going to talk about ratios. Some of you probably know that I was a former math teacher many moons ago. And so I can't help but think that way. And a lot of my students and a lot of my clients like me to give the information that way. What's the ratio that we're going to do for this or that? So when I talk about this, when I talk about the 5 elements, we're always talking about what's the correct kind of percentage here. And I don't think really almost anybody else does that like Lisa and I. You've all seen the symbol. This is the Yin Yang symbol. It's also got a name of Tai Chi. And the black portion, as you may know, is the yin portion, and it has a white dot in it. And then the other side is the yang portion, the white, which has a black dot in it. And what you want to get from this to start with, what the little dots mean, okay? In the yin with the white dot, that means that you cannot have all yin, and you don't want to. We've mentioned before that we don't want extremes. Extremes are something you want to stay away from. So you can imagine if a room was totally black, totally dark, no light. That doesn't feel extremely comfortable for anybody. So there's always going to be some yang. And the same with the yang side of it. You don't want it to be all yang. You don't want it to be all light. So if you think about this and you think about the worst possible thing you could visualize for a yang environment, I'll give you that in just a moment. But think about what the worst yang environment would be in the world. Now, the yin yang theory goes like this. So we're going to use that picture. So don't discard that. But there's got to be places of darkness in order to comprehend and appreciate places of light. There just has to be. And the light is the yang, but without some shade, the yin, we really don't get the best effect, and it's not comfortable for us. So a room will come off very poorly with too much yang or too much yin. So back to the picture, okay? This is like a waiting room for your table to be ready for you to go to, okay? So you want to think of it that way, that, if this is a real swanky place, and you're sitting there maybe having a cocktail or whatever, and you're waiting to be going into the restaurant for your table, the way it's set up right now, this is a certain ambiance that maybe you would expect, right? So that light in the corner, okay, is very special. If I turned that light off and I just turned the overhead on, would you have the same feeling about this place? I don't think so. I just don't think so. So how you go about lighting a room is very important depending on the situation and other things. So yin and yang, there are adjectives that I'm going to give you. I find this is a good way to do this. Use a bunch of adjectives that represent yin. I highlighted 3 of them, so you don't have to try to memorize all of them. So dark, passive, and sleep, okay? And so right away, you're probably thinking of certain areas of your home. And then the yang or yang adjectives, the ones that I'm highlighted are light, active, and wakeful. Again, probably you're thinking of certain rooms that fit that criteria, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, the Tai Chi symbol has a lot of meaning to a lot of cultures. And I do want to throw that out to you at this point so you can see how important this is. It's not just something you see on a bumper sticker. So if you look at down at the bottom, the picture on the right, you can see that it's marked with the summer solstice and the equinox and all that kind of stuff. So they look at it in a lot of different ways. For example, the cycle of life, which I'm going to show you on that picture. The 4 seasons are being shown in that picture, believe it or not. The planting season, and then even the 24 hours in a day. And that's just a few of the things that people see in that picture. So let me put an arrow right there, okay? So we're going to talk about 24 hours in a day. You notice it's getting a little light there, okay? So the sun is just coming up. So it's morning now. And then here's the middle of the day, okay? And then if you go to where it's getting dark at the top, that's dusk. It's starting, the sun's going down now. It's getting darker. And then you can go to the other side and you can see that's the middle of the evening, middle of the night. Okay. There is your 24 hours a day. And it can be clocked that way. Let's talk about the cycle of life. Let's go down to the bottom arrow one more time. That light section, that's where you're born. And then the other arrow in a clockwise direction is showing maybe the prime of your life. Okay. And then the little black section is slowing, where things are starting to, I don't know, decay. Things are starting to change. Okay. And then you can imagine on the other side, things are really starting to go downhill a little bit until you finally pass. Okay. So the Tai Chi symbol is a very important symbol, and it's not just a bumper sticker. Now, one of the big things in feng shui is the lighting. Okay. I think that would make sense at this point. So the lighting of our spaces, we've got to get it in the right mix. And sadly, a lot of rooms that I walk into when I'm evaluating things are not in the right mix. They're showing the wrong characteristics. So bad lighting is really going to hurt the potential of the environment. So you can imagine if you're trying to sell a house and your lighting is not set up correctly, you got a problem. You have a major problem because you only get one time with these people. So bad lighting can really draw attention to the wrong elements of a room. So let's look at the picture. Again, I don't just put these pictures up there. These are important. I'm using an overhead. And as you're going to find out, I'm pretty much against using overhead lighting in a lot of ways. Think about high school. I don't know about you, but if it wasn't for sports, I probably would have shot myself. But anyway, the lighting in a classroom, what did that make you feel like? It probably is not something that you wanted to be under for 6, 7, 8 hours. Probably times that some of you even had headaches. Okay. But if you look at that overhead light, look at the picture, look at under the bowl. There's this dark shadow. Look at the picture on the wall. Nothing is really coming across very positively in that room. So if you can, you stay away from using a lot of overheads. Certainly there are going to be times that you're going to possibly need to do that. Which brings us to what we're looking for. Natural light is greatly preferred in feng shui. Anything natural is greatly preferred in feng shui. So in your house, make sure that when you get up in the morning and you possibly have already closed the curtains and shades and all that kind of stuff, open them up before you go to work. Again, I walk into places and some people have forgotten or didn't think it was that important to open it up and bring natural light back into a house. Don't you think the house on the right-hand side, the picture on the right-hand side, wouldn't you like to come home to that at 5 or 6 o'clock instead of having all the light, blocked? I would think so. So houses with lots of natural light are so much more welcoming, perceived as so much more positive to your neighbors, to your visitors, to your family, to somebody that's maybe looking to maybe buy the house. So again, I've already mentioned it, but the curtain and blinds, try to open them up every morning. You're going to work, you're going to school, whatever, open them up. So some lighting can really be a problem for a person's comfort and productivity. And you might not even notice it. You're just off. So take a look at this picture. Can you imagine trying to work in this environment? Okay. I don't know what I see in the corner. It looks like almost like a ghost, doesn't it? So you can't possibly think that this is a very productive kind of place. Now, where I run into a problem once in a while is within a kitchen. Downlighting is a very, very common thing. But sometimes we go overboard on it. It is very common. But the thing about it is it can really come off as sort of harsh and extreme for people if you're underneath that for long periods of time. Feng Shui is about a lot of things, including health. We want to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders and that you're healthy and comfortable and feeling secure. So you want to have other alternatives if you would, even in a kitchen. Now, as you're going to see, yin and yang have a lot of other things that they uh, are involved with, and one of them is color. So there are cool colors and there are warm colors. Yin colors are like this. This is one side of the color wheel. Okay, those are yin colors, and of course, there's hundreds and thousands of different shades in between. Now, cool colors do the following: they actually recede and lower energy for a human being. Okay, so that means that those are perfect for a bedroom. I'm going to show you some really bad bedrooms in a little bit, but they actually recede and lower energy. It's been proven scientifically. Now the warm colors, which are yang, okay, this room, I think is attractive, but can you imagine that color probably wouldn't work very well in your bedroom, or especially your children's bedroom? They might have trouble even sleeping. So these are the colors that give you an idea of what we're talking about. But here's what happens with warm colors. They actually advance towards us. They excite us. They make us more social, you might say. Okay. So using them in the wrong places, in the wrong amounts, can really hurt your comfort. Now, there's a lot of things that are yang and yin. Okay. And if you haven't already figured, I like to fool around a little bit, but some people do an awful lot of talking, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of your relatives does an awful lot of talking and it only takes so much. I don't have any idea. But that is the yang side of the personality. But then there's also a yin side too. Now, the perfect situation was that you would have a balance of the two. Let's face it, there's a lot of us that do not have a perfect balance of that. Some of us are better in one situation or the other, but that is a yang and yin uh, idea right there. How about food? Peppers are yang. Does that make sense? I mean, you're definitely going to have a reaction to that. Well, what's yin? Well, scrambled eggs would be maybe an example of something yin. So if you're trying to even, for example, sell a house, whatever you're putting out for somebody to maybe like an open house, there are certain things that are better to be in that situation. How about an aroma? Very, very pivotal in feng shui. I made a sort of a living using cinnamon. So it's very yang and keeps people awake. Okay. I don't want them to get sleepy when they're looking at a home that I had listed. And then what's the opposite of it? Well, the yin would be something like a lavender. Okay. So there's so many different examples. And so you name it, there is an opposite. And again, and I hope you'll take this okay. Maybe you have a dog like this, and that's okay. I love dogs. That's the yang. Here's the yin. Okay. So scary lit rooms are not in currently or probably never will be. Again, you can see in this room, we have an overhead light on. It's not even doing what it's probably up there for. So that to me is a real scary room. So we're looking more for something like this. Got a lot of great natural light. Play it up. Play it up. I don't care if you're selling, you're staying, or whatever. You want to have as much natural light as possible. You want to have some secondary light to also help with the corners. So this is what we're looking for. Now, outside, the same thing can happen. You can go too far one way or the other. Here's something that's too little. This is just not going to work. But you can also have something too much the other way. So here's a couple that everybody knows that they're having a party. Okay. So it looks like they're at it again. And I don't know, maybe they have fireworks. I don't know what they're doing. So an entrance with little or no light, is very yin and really is not good. That's an extreme. That's an extreme. An entrance with spotlights and fireworks is very yang and definitely is not good either. Your neighbors won't like you for that one. So this kind of situation right here is what we're looking for. This is very welcoming. Okay. It's not over the top, but it's definitely not just a few lights here and there. So it's very well done. So if you've been with me a few times, I like to repeat myself. Yes, that's the teacher in me, but here's something very important for you to always walk away from. And if you're working on your home or your office or whatever, try to stay away from extremes. They just don't work. People get really tired of that and it just doesn't work well. You've seen this picture before, possibly, again, if you've been with me. In its own way, it's very well done, but it's also not popping. And so therefore, there's an awful lot we could do for something like this. That door, is pretty, but it sort of blends in, right? Remember that? It blends in with the exterior. So there's nothing really there that is really going to sort of entice the energy into the house. So we're always looking for something like this, where the door, of course, is more yang and a different color than the exterior. But again, you can go to the extreme. For example, this is an extreme. And again, if you like to upset the neighbors, go with it. But this doesn't work very well in most cases. So you probably have already figured out yin rooms. Here they are. The yin rooms are, of course, all the bedrooms, the bathrooms. If you have a study or a library, okay, and then the yang rooms or the yang rooms are the living room, the den, the kitchen, the dining room, and a rec room, okay? So those are the social rooms. So how you set them up is going to be a little different. How you do the coloring, how you do the lighting, it's going to be different. So here's some examples of two yang and two yin, okay? This is not a good bedroom. This is not going to work. So if I was called out to this particular house and they said that Johnny was not sleeping very well, I think I could pretty much pinpoint what was the problem. Or in a situation like this, multicolored walls, all of them pretty colorful, also a lot of clutter, but this is just not what we're looking for if you really want to get a really good night's sleep. Here's two yin. Maybe some of you really like that, but it's too much of an extreme for me. So even a bedroom needs to have some yang. It needs to have that. Here's another one. Again, you might like this, and I certainly like it better than I did the yang rooms. So seems like I'm always quoting Goldilocks. She's got a lot of great ideas. So it's not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Keep that in mind. We're always trying to do that. So this bedroom is pretty good. This one is just fine, although I'd probably spice it up a little bit to make it a little bit more Yang, for example, putting in maybe a couple of pillows that are red or orange or something like that. This way, it's got a better balance to it. So that brings us to close to the end here. We're going to talk about ratios. Okay. Very pivotal the way we think of things in our school. So ratios go like this. Again, please try to remember no extremes, no extremes. So a 90% to 10% is not good. It's just not good. So if you think about the worst possible Yan situation in the world, to me, here's my example. Standing in the Sahara Desert, in the middle of the Sahara Desert at 12 o'clock noon, doesn't get much more Yan and bad. That's an extreme. We stay away from extremes. So I like to use more of a 70 to 30 yin to yang in a bedroom. Maybe even 60 to 40 works. So when I'm working on a social room, it goes the other direction. So think 70% yang to 30% yin. And you'll find out it works really well for your visitors, for yourself, and your loved ones. So I hope some of you are starting to become interested in looking at our training for becoming either a professional consultant and making this a business. We've turned out a lot of really successful consultants, or taking the real estate certification. So if you do, or if you at least would like to take a look, just email me. Here's my email. And I promise you, neither I or Lisa bite. We just like you to look at the PDF. Just take a look at it. And if you need to, just throw it away, file it, or maybe even act on it. We'd love to talk to you. So the next time, what we're going to do is we're going to do multiple ways that feng shui helps the inhabitants of a home. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And that again is on May 3rd. That's the first Wednesday of that month. So, I appreciate you so much for joining me. I hope, again, you'll show up every first Wednesday. And if you want to, you go ahead and open up your audio and see if you have any questions for me before we call it an evening. I think I went a little late tonight. Did I? Yes, I did. Sorry about that. But anyway, does anybody have any questions for me before I say goodnight? Anybody at all? All right, well, you can always email me if you have a question. Love to help you a little bit here. And, I hope I'm showing you how much I'm enthusiastic about feng shui. And I think if you just gave it a shot, you'd find out that it's really got an awful lot going for it. It's a very creative pursuit that Lisa and I just love. So thank you very much for showing up. And I'll get this recording out to you, by the morning. You take care now. Bye-bye.